Have you ever felt an invisible surge of pressure when the narcissist realizes you're far stronger than they expected? In Carl Jung's analytical psychology, the narcissist is not merely a victim of their inner darkness, the shadow, but also a master of power manipulation, using it to conceal a fragile ego. When you begin to draw firm boundaries, affirm your self-worth, and stop craving their validation, you trigger what Jung calls the power inversion crisis, that moment when the balance of power flips and sends them into a panic. It's the instant their inflated ego feels threatened, and from that point on, they'll deploy their ultimate tactic, strength shaming, attacking the very qualities you cherish to drag you back into the darkness. Stay with me until the end of the video as we unpack this psychological maneuver through a Jungian lens and discover how you can stand strong against their final gambit. When the balance of power in the relationship begins to shift, the narcissist suddenly realizes you are no longer soft prey as before. Jung calls this the power inversion crisis, the moment the reins slip, when you, once manipulated, become firmer, more clear-sighted, and more confident than ever. What they feel isn't simply anger or disappointment, but an overwhelming fear. Fear of losing control, fear of seeing their own darkness reflected back at them. The instant you dare to say no, tighten your boundaries, and stop seeking their approval, you strike at the very heart of the narcissist's swollen ego. Jung stressed, the shadow is not only the part of the psyche we deny, but also the deepest corner we strive to hide. And when you peel away their mask of fear, that darkness lunges out in its fiercest form. The strength-shaming assault. Rather than admit you've grown, they'll zero in on your strengths as if they were sins. When you show assertiveness, they label you distant or cold. When you confidently defend yourself, they sneer that you are arrogant or full of yourself. When you freely voice your opinions, they accuse you of being rigid or abrasive. Each barb is a dirty stab aimed at your proudest qualities, designed to make you doubt yourself and slip back into old dependency. 2. The nostalgic manipulation trick. If strength shaming doesn't make you waver, they'll invoke sweet memories to pull you off course. Remember how gentle and easygoing you were when we first met. These hollow, calculated words prey on your longing for love, stirring a yearning for the good old days before you knew about boundaries or your own inner power. Jung described it as a psychological time travel, a tactic to drag you back to your most vulnerable moments. San, their final gambit, manufactured vulnerability. If neither strength shaming nor nostalgia works, the narcissist unleashes their most insidious ploy, donning the cloak of hurt. They suddenly beg you, just once more, I need you to need me. They blow a minor setback into a catastrophe, feigning emotional, physical, or financial crisis. They soak up your pity, cynically exploiting your empathy to see if your boundaries will melt away. Jung called this compassion gone wrong, a differentiated compassion twisted into another means of control, so you forget how far you've come and become their rescuer once again. 4. How to avoid the trap. Spot the warning signs. Any crisis that erupts just when you're most empowered is almost certainly staged. Hold your boundaries. Don't betray your own values out of pity. Jung reminds us, true strength doesn't come from saving others, but from saving yourself from the temptation to save them. Practice discerning compassion. You can listen and understand without getting lost in their emotional maze. Don't let kindness become the rope that ties you down and costs you your inner freedom. When the narcissist realizes that strength shaming no longer causes you to falter, they'll switch to a subtler tactic, the nostalgic manipulation game. This is when they immerse themselves in memories of the good old days, not out of genuine longing for real happiness, but to pull you back to the time when you were still dependent and easily controlled. They'll dredge up shared laughter and sweet nothings that once melted your heart, then suddenly jab, you've lost the kindness and understanding you used to have. Each nostalgic invocation is an emotional trap, causing your heart to pause and wonder whether you've sacrificed your most precious self. From a Jungian perspective, this is more than just an emotional ploy, it's a form of psychological time travel. Carl Jung described the shadow, our hidden darkness, as the unconscious aspects we refuse to acknowledge, and the narcissist uses memory as a projector to cast their own imperfections onto you. When you hear, "You're not who you used to be," what they're really doing is reflecting their fragile ego back at you, making you feel guilty for changing. That pang of nostalgia, if left unrecognized, can distract you from your healing path, sow doubt, and even delay your forward progress. Clearly, nostalgic manipulation strikes at the heart where you once gave love unconditionally. For a moment, those fond recollections can make you forget past hurts and think, maybe I should soften again, cater to them like before. But Jung warns that this is the shadow's snare. It doesn't invite you back to the past, it lures you away from the future waiting for you. That false comfort cradles the very darkness you worked so hard to shed, only to drag you back into their realm of control. If nostalgic manipulation still fails to break you, the narcissist unleashes their final gambit, manufactured vulnerability. This is the perfect drama, capitalizing on your compassion, a subtle energy that, without discernment, can become a double-edged sword. They may suddenly announce a health crisis, stage financial hardship, or roll out a family emergency. Every scenario is meticulously scripted to unfold just when you think you've seen all their tactics. In that moment, you'll feel torn. Should I cut them off or help them through this? Jung calls this the challenge of differentiated compassion, the ability to feel empathy without getting lost in their emotional labyrinth. Being yanked between reason and emotion at this stage is intensely stressful. Inside you, one voice whispers, "They're truly suffering, I have to save them." The other warns, "Remember, they're the one who destroyed you." Jung emphasizes that real strength isn't about exhausting yourself to rescue others, but about preserving your boundaries so the same pain can't be reborn. You can listen, you can empathize, but don't let kindness become the rope that binds you. To spot manufactured vulnerability, ask yourself, does this story align with their past behavior? Why does this crisis come precisely when I'm at my strongest? Am I really the only person who can help them? When you view these moves through a Jungian lens, aware of shadow and persona, you clearly see the manipulation at work. The narcissist's swollen ego fears any bond that might eclipse them, so they'll sacrifice all pretense of sincerity just to test your resolve. Overcoming these tactics isn't easy. Jung once said, "The process of individuation requires us to face the darkness we once feared most." That journey involves not only rebuilding your self-confidence, but also honing the ability to discriminate within your compassion. You must focus on your core values: inner freedom, integrity, and an inviolable dignity. One effective method is to keep a journal of every crisis the narcissist stages for you. Record the date and time, their words, your reactions, and your inner feelings in detail. When you review these entries, you'll clearly see the same pattern replaying: pressure, then a staged display of weakness, then more pressure. This helps you distinguish genuine situations from manipulations, so you can stand firm in maintaining your distance. Besides journaling, mindfulness meditation is another excellent tool for observing emotions as they arise without getting swept away. When you notice your mind swinging between empathy and doubt, simply take a deep breath and return to the present moment. You are the center, not the narcissist. Jung believed that when we deeply understand ourselves, we no longer get entangled in the shadow's games. Finally, build a healthy support network. Family, friends, or a mental health professional. Sharing your experience is not a sign of weakness, but proof of your courage. From a Jungian perspective, the ego is nourished not only by personal strength, but also by genuine connection with community. With a solid support base, you will always stand strong against any performance the narcissist puts on. Thus, from strength shaming and nostalgic manipulation to manufactured vulnerability, every tactic aims to draw you back into dependency. But once you grasp Jung's ideas of shadow, persona, and individuation, you can not only unmask their scripts, but also turn each encounter into an opportunity for self-reinforcement. True strength does not come from defeating others, but from preserving your own value amid emotional storms. Even if the narcissist unleashes every final trick they have, you will remain grounded on your path to inner freedom, unshakable by anyone. When you have weathered the narcissist's intricate sequence of maneuvers, strength shaming, nostalgic manipulation, and manufactured vulnerability, your mind will surge through waves of emotion, shock, confusion, anger, and sometimes lingering sadness. Yet it is precisely in that turmoil that you have the chance to recognize and unlock a deep, latent power stronger than any power play they have ever offered. First, pause and listen. Carl Jung emphasized the importance of dialoguing with the shadow. When you calmly acknowledge every emotion, whether pain, resentment, or fear, you lay the groundwork for healing. Rather than brushing aside your pain as something shameful, journal your experience or tell yourself, "This is hard, but I will get through it." That simple act empowers you to transform suffering into the material from which courage is built. Next, you need to distinguish the inflated ego, the part the narcissist leans on to shore up their power, from your true self. Jung calls this the process of individuation, the act of becoming one's own person. When you dare to face both the light and the darkness within you, ask yourself, which of my qualities have I denied? Which of my real values deserve my honor? By answering this, you reconnect with your inner source of strength, refusing to let anyone, even your former self, deny your right to be you. Another powerful tool is meditation and mindfulness. Every day, set aside at least 10 to 15 minutes to sit quietly and focus on your breath. When memories or verbal assaults arise, rather than being swept away by them, observe them as if they were clouds drifting across the sky of your mind. Jung recognized that only when we step outside the chaos of our inner dialogue can we truly see which reactions belong to the shadow and which voice belongs to the soul. Don't hesitate to seek external support. A mental health professional, a support group, or even a trusted friend can serve as a mirror, revealing the blind spots you might miss on your own. Genuine connection reassures you that you're not alone on the path to healing, while providing an objective perspective that helps you avoid the narcissist's psychological traps. As you rebuild yourself, asserting clear boundaries is vital. This is not rigidity or withdrawal, but a way of honoring your own worth and protecting your inner energy. When someone, whether a loved one, a friend, or someone who once manipulated you, tries to cross that line, simply and firmly state, "I will not accept being treated this way." Jung once said, "A person's value lies in their capacity for self-mastery in the face of external forces." Each time you uphold your boundary, you prove his point. Meanwhile, cultivate habits that nurture a positive ego. Read psychology or self-growth books, exercise regularly, engage in creative pursuits, or simply spend time in nature. When your inner life is nourished by depth and meaning, no nitpicking, false nostalgia, or feigned weakness can shake you. Equally important is practicing differentiated compassion. Jung taught that true compassion isn't dissolving into someone else's suffering, but maintaining enough distance to avoid being engulfed. When you hear the narcissist recount their woes, you can empathize, "I understand your pain," without getting sucked into their emotional whirlpool. You respect them as a human being, but you do not condone their abusive behavior. The deeper you go into this process, the more you'll notice a shift. Instead of reacting passively, you learn to steer your own life. Each time you resist the temptation to return to the narcissist, each time you affirm your intrinsic worth without needing anyone else's approval, you hone your ego into its sharpest instrument, the free self. Finally, remember that individuation is not a destination, but a lifelong journey. Jung said, "The greatest power of a human being is to become themselves." Along the way, you will face new challenges, not always from the narcissist, but from the shadows still lurking within your own mind. Yet each confrontation, each victory, brings you closer to wholeness. In the next section, we will explore how to apply Jungian principles in daily life to fortify yourself against any external influence. Don't miss it. When you look back on having triumphed not just over one tactic, but over the trio of strength shaming, nostalgic manipulation, and manufactured vulnerability, you'll see one key truth. The narcissist is only powerful when you allow them to exploit your pain. But when you stand firm in your boundaries and uncover and transform your inner darkness through Jung's teachings, you not only protect yourself but dismantle the false foundation they built. Strength shaming exposed their swollen ego by projecting onto you the flaws they dared not admit. Nostalgic manipulation revealed they only long for the version of you they could control, not the mature person you've become. Manufactured vulnerability reminded you that however pitiful their pleas, they were merely a final ploy to drag you back into dependence. And once you clearly see each layer of their tactics, you'll understand inner freedom doesn't lie in defeating them, but in preserving your own worth through every emotional snare. Jung guided us with the concept of individuation, the process of integrating shadow and persona so that your own inner light can shine. This section concludes with a confirmation. Every time you stand up for your boundaries, every time you see through their tricks without flinching, you grow stronger upon the narcissist's very shadow. That strength doesn't come from toppling them, but from illuminating your whole independent self, unbound by anyone's approval or control. In the next part, we'll dive into practical tools from journal therapy and mindfulness to applying differentiated compassion so you can continue building yourself, bolster your mental resilience, and never be lost again in that maze of emotions. Be ready, your journey of individuation continues. Finally, having walked with me through each of the tactics, strength shaming, nostalgic manipulation, and manufactured vulnerability, you'll see the key insight. Real power doesn't lie in how much the narcissist can manipulate your emotions, but in your ability to hold fast to yourself. Carl Jung emphasized that the journey of individuation is a lifelong process in which you dare to acknowledge your inner darkness and integrate it into your inner strength. At that moment, you transcend their emotional chessboard and create an inner world so solid that no tactic can shake you. Remember, strength shaming shows you that they fear losing the validation you once provided. When you stop seeking their praise, you've drained the life source from their inflated ego. Nostalgic manipulation is a memory trap that preys on your longing to evade responsibility and return to a safe past. But Jung taught us that memory is only one dimension of time. What truly matters is the belief you choose for your future. Manufactured vulnerability exploits your compassion and tests your boundaries. When you practice differentiated compassion, you allow yourself to empathize without getting lost in their emotional maze. You don't have to become rude or careless to protect yourself. On the contrary, you can keep your heart open while remaining steadfast in your boundaries. Every time you dare to say no, every time you stand your ground, you're doing shadow work, dialoguing with your darkness to light your path to healing. Each refusal to be drawn into false nostalgia is a milestone in your growth. Now, when the narcissist plays their final card, don't panic. Take a deep breath. Remind yourself of the journey you've traveled and the strength you've built. Regard their reactions as tests of your resolve. Above all, believe that your value comes not from how much you give, but from preserving your wholeness. If you found value in these Jungian insights, hit subscribe so you won't miss the next videos, where I'll share more practical tools from journaling and mindfulness to differentiated compassion to help you grow ever stronger. Don't forget to like if you found this lesson helpful, and share it with a friend who needs to learn how to stand firm against the narcissist's power games. All content in this video adheres to the spirit of fair use. Brief quotations, clear attributions, and transformation into new scholarly and healing perspectives. Thank you for journeying with me, because only when we see through another's script are we truly free. See you in the next video.